A very good afternoon to everyone. I am Siddharth and I am extremely delighted and honored to welcome all of you to this webinar on the topic of remote online proctored examinations, the new normal. In the interest of clarity of speech, I'll place all the participants on mute. In case of your display name in Zoom is different, please mention your name and institute in the chat. Please feel free to post any queries you may have in the chat and we will take them up at the end of the session. To start the session, I would like to introduce our esteemed speakers briefly. Today, I have the honor to welcome experts from diverse backgrounds and with a vast experience. We are honored to have Dr. Sandhya Chintala ma'am, who is the Executive Director of IT-ITES Sector Skill Council, NASSCOM, SSC NASSCOM. SSC NASSCOM addresses the education and skills development initiative of this industry body for the country. Dr. Sandhya Chintala is also the Vice President of National Association of Software and Service Companies, NASSCOM, which is the Chamber of Commerce for the IT BPM industry. She holds a doctorate in cognitive processes of how the mind absorbs information and is the foremost expert in assessment processes for SSC NASSCOM. Then we have Dr. Devraj, who is the former chairman of the apex body, University Grants Commission, UGC. He has 2 doctorates from University of Madras, along with over 40 years of experience in academics. He has over 90 publications to his name and is a celebrated scientist with national and international awards to his name. Also, we have Dr. Krishnamurthy, who is the former Registrar Evaluation of prestigious Visvesvaraya Technological University, Karnataka. During his tenure there, digital evaluation and online question paper delivery was introduced in Visvesvaraya Technological University with over 200 engineering colleges and is still continuing till date. He is serving as principal of BNM Institute of Technology, which is one of the best engineering colleges in Bangalore. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Choco Veliappa, who is a passionate and multifaceted entrepreneur born into a family of entrepreneurs. He co-founded an incubation company, Veliappa Software Tech Park, launching companies like Oracle, Cisco, Verifone in India in 1995. In 2000, he founded V Technologies, a gold standard global services company focused in revenue cycle management and healthcare and engineering services. We annually handles about 21 billion worth transactions with Six Sigma level of accuracy, working with global 1000 and mid-sized companies. We also features in Inc. 500 list of fastest growing US companies. With this background, I would request Mr. Choco to start the session with his keynote address.
Good afternoon, Dr. Devraj, good afternoon, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and the entire panelists. The need of the hour today is I had a presentation. It was working this afternoon, but now it's not allowing me to connect. But I'll share the slides with you over time. So we've been happy to work with NASSCOM Sector Skill Council as an assessment partner for over a year now, and I think the whole thing came about when NASSCOM actually had called us to come and present to all the state government sector skill councils as well as NSDC and the skill ministries. So the whole thing today is the world is an online world today, and it's a new world order. So how we gear up to it, Nandan Nilekani actually in an article summed it up very, very well. He said an Indian education system focuses on teaching and reading, writing and counting, but that needs to change. We need to teach how to think, digital skills, how to collaborate, and it's an easier thing to teach. This came out maybe a week ago from him. And if you look around the world, today's biggest announcement is that IBM is going to cut down 50% of the office space. I'm not sure, just today. TCS had said that 75% of the people will work out of their homes. And what it means is that we have an IT company we're incubating in Salem, and the person said that he's asked all the employees in Tamil Nadu to come and work in Salem in their office. And I said, why do they need to work? Why can't they work in the office? He said, no, they're used to sitting next to each other and working and things like that. So that is why, because they're taught like that. So if you're taught to think on your own and be creative, you can share the screen. So I'm sitting in Bangalore, Dr. Sanjay is sitting in Hyderabad, Dr. Krishnamurthy is sitting in another part of Bangalore. There's another gentleman I heard joined from Geneva, I think Krishnan, our colleague. So people are from everywhere collaborating. So the same way you're seeing my screen, you'll be able to see many other screens. So why I'm saying is that the way we work is changed. So the way we learn needs to change. So, and because the way we work is going to be an online world, which means it's not necessarily an IT company. It could be an engineering company. It could be manufacturing company. So the gig economy is opening up. So, I mean, and again, we've always been focused on object-oriented learning, and I think we need to learn how to think outside the box, for example. And the teacher also needs to adapt to this thing of the new way of teaching. I'm sure all of you who are taking classes now online have adapted to it as well. The way we teach needs to change. So from being a sage on the stage, we need to be a guide on the side. That's the new way of teaching. And then we need to also, there's a huge barrier today in the world, whether I'm sitting in Bangalore or sitting in a remote area of South India or wherever, but online world enables you to be in the center of the world. So you can be wherever in the world, but you are still there. So if you look, the Dev Bharat University, which is in the middle of Punjab, so they're using our system today of higher me proctoring, and they're conducting exams and assessments for their candidates anywhere around. So the urban-rural divide is changing because thanks to bandwidth being available everywhere. And I remember Devang Mehta, a couple of maybe 15, 20 years ago, came up with this slogan, Roti Kapada or bandwidth, in many years. So I think maybe Dr. Sandhya can say maybe 15 years ago or something like that. So the choice for students today and parents is to spend 600 or 700 rupees a month and get the continuation going, or they have to wait 1 or 2 years because we don't know. When there were 200 people affected with COVID, we went into a lockdown. Today, there are 350,000 people or 380,000 people affected. And it's increasing day by day. Yesterday, 13,000 got affected. So if we open up colleges and things like that, it is affected. And educational institutions are the single most affected entity in today's economy. Everybody is functioning. So everyone is opened out, but colleges and schools are not opened out. So that's the need why we said that we should look for this proctored exams, because I mean, copying or cheating in exams has always been there. But one of the reasons why AICTE chose Hire Me 2 years ago to be an assessment partner for getting employees, students jobs, was the reason why, because we have an AI proctored engine. So right with a mobile phone, any mobile phone that you have, you're able to actually visualize the camera is able to visualize that, and using machine learning techniques. If I'm copying, listening, if I'm looking, it can do any of those kind of stuff. So in question and answers too. So how are we at Hire Me? Let me just come a couple of minutes and I'll finish. The questions and answers. So in a normal question and answer session, Dr. Krishnamurthy, being the controller of exams and register and VTU, can add more light to this. You normally have 3 sets of question paper. So now what we have done is we have enforced the same 3 sets of question paper, and different question papers go for different students, and it's a different mixture. So you have far more variations in questions, all set. We pick up from the 3 question papers and mix and match. The answers are also mixed and matched. So the A, B, C, D for me would be different for you. And the questions also maybe in a different order. So we are making the questions much more diverse. And also the type of questions you're able to ask is actually ranging. So we have the MCQ questions, we have multiple MCQ questions, we have a paragraph, another big thing is the coding stimulator as well. So you're able to actually stimulate the coding and test it out. And if you want to teach somebody typing skills and things like that, that's fine too. And the analytics is the biggest value for any academic institutions. So we're able to analyze these details much more better. So, for example, one of the things that we have done in a couple of institutions is to conduct a psychometric test, because some people learn by listening, some people learn by hearing, some people learn by seeing and reading. So what we have done is we've conducted a psychometric analysis, finding out how people are learning, and through which we can teach better. So all the more, and a lot of people are thinking that, not too many institutions are electronically enabled for us to get to online proctoring and things like that. It's actually the lowest barrier, because today with Google Classrooms, today with the Swayam platform, the government has spent 2,000 crores on Swayam, but people need to leverage that. The NPTEL is a great platform, all IIT lectures and things like that. So NPTEL in all our institutions that we run from the SONA group of institutions is mandatory for every faculty to go and update their skills, as well as learn, for students to learn different programs. And so these are all free programs. You don't need anything. So if a student can pay 50, 60, 1 lakh or 2 lakhs per year for a college fee, they should be able to pay 7,000 rupees for getting unlimited bandwidth, literally. Today, bandwidth is available thanks to Jio and things like that. Bandwidth has come a whole cycle. And today we have one of the cheapest bandwidths in the world. And we need to leverage that as educational institutions. And today, I think HireMe is, we are proud that through our CSR, HireMe Pro and Gold and the assessments that we've been doing, incidentally, one of our biggest users is BNMIT, which Mr. Krishnamurthy is the principal. And so they have done over 30,000 assessments successfully. And even in a rural area, like in the middle of, I think 2.5 hours from Ludhiana, maybe 7-10 hours from Punjab, the Dev Bharat University is conducting the exam. So bandwidth even on 2G, it's possible. And let me end by saying that what HireMe does today is takes different snippets of the person right through the examination and gives you a 20-second video clip that you can make sure that you're the actual person taking the test and seeing it through. So your facial recognition is there and AI proctoring is there. So we are trying to make life better for educational institutions today, because the choice between the student is to wait in 1 year or 2 years, because the COVID is not going to go away for another 18 months for sure. So we are trying to equip and enable the people. So I will end and hand over to Siddharth. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll be happy to answer questions later.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chacko, for the insights and setting the tone for the discussion. Definitely, Sage on Stage will have to change to a guide by the side. And now I would like to invite Dr. Sandhya ma'am to further the discussion. Sandhya ma'am, over to you, ma'am.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Good afternoon to all of you. It's indeed a pleasure to join this very august group of panelists and of course to share our thoughts and to actually debate a few points with the rest of the people who are the audience. So today the program that we have received and want to talk about is remote online proctoring in the new normal. And this basically is a response to learning and working during and post the COVID. I would like to extrapolate a little bit here. The way I'm going to address the next few minutes is that there is a need for this requirement, but also there is a huge risk, and how we can mitigate the risk, especially linking both demand and supply. So one of the things that we have seen in the new normal that we have actually living, learning, and working today is that this technology industry has actually shifted and is working from home. Almost 77% of the industry pan-India. But is this something new? Because we all have reset the button, which we thought we would do another 10, 15 years later. It is now. So you would see by the stats here, China, almost 93% of them are working from home and they are functional. America is basically 89, and then South America is 82. Then Australia, New Zealand is on almost 79%. Rest of Europe is 78, and UK is about 72. So India is not too far behind. But one of the things that you must remember is in this new normal, working from home is distinctive from basically learning from home. Because in the workspace, everybody has a device and the connected bandwidth, and somehow the employee base is able to ensure that they have this. But one of the problems with the student community is, do they have the appropriate device and the uninterrupted bandwidth to learn? So in that particular situation, that is definitely going to create a digital divide. But there are always, as Mr. Chacko has said, opportunities there also to address it. But what is the work ecosystem going to look like? Because of which we need to have an educational program which is going to be totally online, both remote and online. I'll give you the distinction between them. So let me go on as how we are going to work. The new work is going to be an alternate work category. So you as faculty of universities and colleges and the governance mechanism there, as well as the management, will be reflecting a similar work from home attitude, and you need to showcase an aptitude for it. So you will say in the world, if you look at it, almost 48% of the people prefer to do what is alternate work, which is working from home, because they have control and autonomy. So these are the positives of it. And then you have about 10% who like to actually do it because they're looking for a better job. 48%, specifically for women, is for balancing a career. 22% look for it as a different way of making an income. And 55%, surprisingly, are doing it for working from home. So the sharing economy, or the gig economy, or the platform economy that we are going to evince now very strongly, also in the learning ecosystem, is already set in the world, but it is not particularly rampant. But in the COVID period, it's going to go very, very strong. Now, one little fact about in India is, it's actually been available in India, the gig economy working. But now it has never been endorsed so strongly as it has been done in the Indian ITS industry as of today. So you will find that if there are 90% of the world is moving towards this, almost 90% of the community is coming from India. If there are 500 freelancers or so that we evaluated in India, most of them are in the age group of 40 years, etc. So it is basically reflecting the community like faculty we are. And the pay scale is about 90 lakhs or so. But better stuff you will find is around also in the range between 40 to 45 lakhs per annum. But our estimate is that in the next, by 2025, in the next few years, there will be 20 million freelancers or people working in the gig economy. And that will be a whooping $20 to $30 billion. So for universities, autonomous colleges, private, etc., any institution, if you think that having a new norm of working from home and not having a face-to-face instructional program is going to be a huge dip in the financial revenue or surplus earning, it's not so. It is meant really to augment as well as to skyrocket. So saying that, what is it necessary in the educational front? Most of the universities and colleges now should and have to behave like an educational company, an education technology company. So you will also have live, remote, and online learning. Live remote is basically whatever you teach in a class face-to-face, now the whole thing is onboarded onto a platform. The faculty will take attendance, they will launch their curricula as well as their classroom sessions. Students will be actually availing that on the 9 to 5 program that you might have. They will have practical sessions online. They will have tutorials, they have lectures, they will have hackathons, everything that's online. Remote and online. Remote in that process means it is a virtual scenario of what you do in the classroom. When you say online, it is pre-recorded sessions. Pre-recorded sessions like NPTEL, SWAYAM, etc. that are available. So there is a distinction between the two, and a blend of the two is very good so that you can move from the instructor-led training and transform to a virtual instructor-led training. But for all that to happen, you need to have a very strong platform that continuously evaluates and gives you the competency of the individual, both for the teacher and faculty. And that is the customized online requirement and the evaluation tool that you require. So many of you feel that's not going to be possible. So let me give you some ideas of what's happening around the world. Now, China has about 150 million students have already gone online. They are using live television broadcasts from their colleges to their schools, right? Many of them otherwise are using smartphones with interactive apps. Even something like physical education is being actually videoed by the individual, which is a student, uploaded and evaluated. So what we are finding is every candidate, whether it's a faculty or student, has to learn how to video, how to upload, how to crop things, how to make it, edit the whole program. So you need to learn a few extra technology-enabled gimmicks. But all of this is now freely available in multiple platforms that we have. And they will take 2 to 3 day training sessions for faculty on how to deliver this. And students, of course, are able to use it very well. You just tell them and they're quite disciplined to take it forward. Having done this, there's another thing is that you have to look at is a private-public education. So each of the institutions might not have all the resources or all the faculty capable of delivering. So can a college like SONA or anybody else or take up a program and then see that they will have a collaborative effort with a few colleges amongst them so as to share the bandwidth, sometimes even permit them to have faculty to be giving lessons to others also. This sort of a collaboration technique is also very, very essential. Likewise, now the NASSCOM has working with the Ministry of IT to bring forth what you call a Future Skills Prime, which is a program from the industry right to the student candidate, even surpassing the institution per se, because already universities like and colleges like SONA are already members of this and are taking benefit from that particular program. So this is another sort of partnership process. Of course, I have mentioned before that there will be a huge digital device, and globally, only 60% of the population is having devices. So we were thinking that is it possible for at least 10 to 20, 15% of the students to be available physically and the rest to work online, and to have a rotation system wherein which probably the practical component, because it takes time, effort and money to do it, is going to get on board very soon. But one of the beauties of online learning and teaching is that you can also include areas like creative problem solving, adaptability, learnability, informed decision making, which normally were not in the mode of teaching process. So one of the diversifications of academic formats is just not like we in companies have bring your own. We are asking students and colleges to think very differently and say, can you create your own learning packages? You know, it's a cross-functional requirement. So you have your basic fundamentals for that particular program of learning, but you will introduce, say, AI or 3D printing or big data or cloud computing or cyber security. You will even have IoT. You'll have augmented virtual reality, because all of this are going to define every area of work, whether it's agriculture or automobiles, or it's going to be health and safety, or it's going to be management of revenue or retail aid processes. All of them require. So having said this, what was this online process that's going to be? So any one of the universities can connect up with one of our member paneled agencies like we have CALM, who has got a tool called Hire Me, and they can engage with them to actually assign to the agency, scheduling it, and then actually addressing the whole process. So now all the time we had, like we had in a GRE or a GMAT or a TOEFL or a SAT, you go to a prescribed scheduled center, sit there, there will be an invigilator, and online you would get a randomized question paper. But then you always thought that the student will look here and there, copy from books, all that is totally eliminated. But now when I have an online program where I can remotely evaluate, that is, you can sit in your home, you can sit in your office somewhere, or you can sit anywhere and at any particular time, which is authorized. So you can say that exam's running at 9 o'clock, the same exam might run at 12 o'clock some other time, and it right in the evening also. So when these exams rotate like this, you can choose your time and attempt the exam. Then the question comes up as, hey, this student is going to look at different browsers. He will look at textbooks, or he will talk. But then all our players, especially Calm with the Hire Me tool, has got a tool which can look at you online all the time. It manages whatever that you think is a risk, and then it'll raise a flag. So one of the things is this assessment engine will not allow any participant to toggle or move out of the test engine, that they cannot go to another browser. If you're seeking help from people in the room, the AI-based auto-proctoring will immediately be able to evaluate you because your webcam is already there. So if you look at an identity risk, whether you can look at yourself through a biometric, or it will ask you for your fingerprint or your iris scan, so it will actually have the data preloaded, and it constantly sees that it's only you who's there. So facial recognition is always there. So the exposure to the question bank, but this they can take screenshots, etc. You can think in case, but this webcam will capture it, and immediately the webcam lets us know that it's done, and then the information will go to the proctor. He can either shut you down as a person who's taking the test, or raises a flag. So after the exam is over, you can actually get a negative marking, or there would be a moderating team which says cancel the test for all the students. So you cannot browse other websites, you cannot use ebooks, you cannot copy paste, you cannot screen share, and then you cannot plug into another monitor. You cannot have an additional person because your eyeballs move here and there or up and down. You're trying to look for some other person to tell you an answer. So if the candidate is distracted or looking elsewhere, then the system cuts off. So if his candidate is not present in the front of the screen for a period of time, so he's taken a bio break, fair enough. But if he constantly removes, again, flags will come up and the system will shut down, or it will actually get negating the test later on. So candidate authorization is done. Multiple people, usage of mobile, can you do that? It will already pick it up. Then if there's an IP change, geofencing. So if the test taker changes during the assessment, a flag is raised. So now I've started the exam, but then Mr. Chaco comes in, sits here, takes it. Immediately it will know about it. So this is a high test integrity score and credibility index. So ladies and gentlemen, so if you see the scenario today, it is full of challenges, but also wrought with exciting opportunities for you to live a new way of delivering, for people to learn, and therefore work in a global ecosystem. No more is your work ecosystem going to be limited to your own state or your college or your country. It will go beyond. You can take a program in mechanics sitting here, but also get programs in mechanics from, say, Harvard or Yale or Stanford, or Cambridge or Oxford, anywhere. And you as faculty can reach out to them. They can also reach out to you. The learning is exciting. But throughout this continuous education journey, the point is, can you evaluate somebody fairly? It is feasible. Can it be done online, remote? It's yes. And does this particular group have, who's one of our member companies and a panel group, have the same ability? Yes, they have. So thank you so much, and open to take questions, answers at the later stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sandhya.
I'm grateful to Dr. Sandhya ma'am for explaining the intricacies of the domain to us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, I request Dr. Devraj sir to share his thoughts with us.
Thank you very much, Siddharth, for giving me an opportunity to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chaco Valliyappan, my good friend, Dr. Sandhya Sintala, and Dr. Krishnamurthy, and Siddharth Singh, and my dear Krishnan, I think he's from Switzerland, he's also joining. I'm very thankful to you for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. But first of all, I want to tell Chaco, I went to his college in Sona College in Trichy, in Salem, where I made a statement, Guru cannot be replaced by Google. That's the statement I made in my talk. So now I will take back that. I think it's a high time. I must take it back because I was inside the house for almost 4 months. Now I realize the importance of the Google. Now I want to take back. Google can replace gurus. Now I think he has taken a lot of initiatives. I think people should understand. I think as a UGC Vice Chairman, I wanted to tell you, we have started this program long back. In the 2012 itself, we started this under the program called MOOCs, Massive Online Open Courses. Chaco Madam mentioned about Swayam Portal, and Prime Minister wanted to inaugurate the Swayam Portal. We have inaugurated, we made all the things. But the very unfortunate thing, I want to share some of the problems in that program. I think you should understand that. What Madam has said, I just can't understand. Madam has said so many things about how to overcome the malpractices with respect to remote online proctored examinations and all those things. And she mentioned about what you call that, how to overcome these problems and mitigation. All those things she's mentioned it. But as an old man, I can't understand that. The reason is, I think I'm very much phobic to computers. That is the problem with MOOCs program. We started this MOOCs program long back in the year 2012 with M. Anantha Krishnan, the former Vice Chancellor of Anna University, as the member, and he was the chairman for the committee, and he started that program, and it was going on for almost 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, I spent 1,400 crores for that program. Unfortunately, it has not come out. The reason is, most of the teachers, you want to online courses, you wanted to initially start with online courses, later you want to go for online examinations. I think it's not materialized. The problem is this, we don't understand that. We have initially introduced a system called CBCS, choice-based credit system. So whatever thing you give it to the students, it should be counted for their education. So we have to give them the credit. So initially we introduced this choice-based credit system, but unfortunately I visited throughout the country. I had 5 meetings. I introduced the choice-based credit system. I'm very thankful that Sandhya Sintala is from Skill Ministry. I'm very, very happy. I had worked with the Professor, I forgot the name. He's from TCS. I think
Venugopal.
No, not Venugopal. He's the chairman for the TCS.
Oh, Mr. Ramdurai.
Mr. Ramdurai was there, and I intimately worked with Professor Ramdurai, and to come out with the credit. Decided by the parents. So it's totally different. You should understand this. So parental mindset, instead of going to the vocational courses or to the skill courses, they prefer a BSc degree or a BA degree. So you should understand this. So unless the mindset of the parents has to be changed, this is very difficult. And I still remember Chaco brought a beautiful program on placements. He developed a program on placements. He brought it and made a presentation to me. I was so impressed, and I wanted to adopt it to the UGC. And later, I think that this was released by Dr. Javadekar. I remember, I think he has done it. And yes, Madam has rightly said, government should be involved in this. If the government is not involved, it's not going to be a successful program. The government has to fund it. Government should understand this. We should try with all the colleges and all the universities. They should know that how to do these things. First of all, you must give them a trial-based training. This is very, very important. If it is successful, then probably you can go for this. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful, and all the lessons should be prepared by the senior professors. And I will give a definition of who is a teacher. A teacher is a permanent student, and a teacher who is going to be evolved for long years. He cannot be a teacher just by getting an appointment from the government. He has to be there for 15, 20 years teaching, and after that only he can become a teacher. I still remember one IAS officer has written a Tamil book where he has given a different kind of definition, a very interesting definition. அடுத்த தலைமுறையின் மனித வளத்திற்கு அடித்தளம் போடும் சமூக விஞ்ஞானி. Who is a teacher? He has given a different definition. It's an excellent definition. He is the one who is going to groom 30 generations. He's going to be there for 30 years in the university or in the college. So he's going to decide the future of 30 generations. So first of all, we must have good human resource. That's very, very, very important. And I think nowadays all the youngsters are well versed with computers. So now I think probably you can go for computers and you can go for proctored, what you call that examination system, online examination system. It's not difficult now. Now I think after the COVID or after this problem, everyone realized that I think everyone is working from inside. I'm also working from the laptop. So everyone has to do this. So now the time has changed. You have to work for that. So this message, I want to share it with you. I think unless you understand the system, and I think all the youngsters, they cannot make the programs. They cannot understand the questions. I think they cannot understand what you call that creative thinking. So in order to have a creative thinking and innovation, I think we should have the understanding. We should understand the teacher. I think eye-to-eye contact is very, very necessary. Without understanding the teacher, you cannot understand anything. What I am today is because of my teachers. I think when I went to USA, 35 postdocs were there along with me. We used to have a regular web conference. And I think probably any doubt which comes in the basic things, they will look at me. Because my teachers in the primary school, they taught me the fundamentals. So you should be good in fundamentals. So computers, anybody can do it after the, now I think it's an order of the day. Now I am using the computer, everyone is using the computer. But understanding the fundamental is very, very, very important. If you don't understand the fundamental, then there is no meaning. So that way, I'm very, very happy. Chako is doing a very good job. I want to congratulate him. I visited his college and I think I know him very personally. I think he's the one who is doing a lot of good things. And I think what I wanted is he should make the academicians to understand this. I think most of the academicians who came for that meeting, they don't understand what he was talking in the placements. I think I have to be very honest with him. So first of all, you must make the academicians to understand this. Then probably this is the best way. I think you have to go for online proctored examination. That's the order of the day. I think in the next 10 years, you have to go like that only. There's no way to that. I think you must make, I think only the youngsters, who is going to make these examinations? I think we give only the, what you call that objective type of questions. So I called Mangala Sundaram from IIT and he was offering this kind of courses in his IIT at Madras. He came and he made, and I asked him how many people are there. Started with 2,000 people, finally ended up with 20 people. So now most of the people have gone out of the thing. So this is very wrong. I think you should give them the right kind of education, right kind of credits, what they are doing. This is very, very important. I think Chako should understand this. Only then it will be the whole successful program. I think skill program is an excellent program. I led a delegation to Malaysia and Singapore, and almost all the people are from a particular one polytechnic institute from Coimbatore, GD Naidu Institute. They're all very good. They know the technique. They know the skill. Skill is very, very important. If you don't know the skill, there's no meaning in engineering. There's no meaning in getting a degree. So you should give value for the degree. If you don't give the value for the degree, then it's meaningless. So in the case of examination also, I think we should give the value for the value. Otherwise, if you don't give the value for the examination, then there's no meaning. So you should give the value. Just by ticking, you should not score marks. And you should create a creative thinking and innovation in this kind of examinations. If that is possible, then I'll be very happy to have this kind of examination. I want to congratulate Chako for this and all the Sandhya madam is from skill industry. I think she may be knowing about it. In Indian, I want to quote my own example. One of my daughter's son, sister's son, who completed automobile engineering in PhD arts, PhD tech, and he bought a new car and it was not working. Then he looked down. He's an automobile engineer. He opened the bonnet and he go down and he see many things. He could not rectify it. And after that, he called a fellow from the street, and that fellow put the ignition key and said that there's no petrol. So the skill is needed. If you don't have the skill, the degree is meaningless. So that way, I think Chako, we are doing a good job. My congratulations to you. I think you have to do it in a very, first of all, make the elderly people, I think those senior teachers should understand this. If they don't understand, then they will throw it away. So make the senior teachers to understand this and make them pro computers. And they should not have the phobic against computers. Then it is possible. I think this kind of things will work out. And my congratulations to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Chako. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience, words of wisdom with us, sir. We look forward to the new developments in the education ecosystem. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Krishnamurthy, who is using online remote proctored assessments firsthand in his institute, to share his valuable experience with us.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Dr.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Okay, so now I would like to narrate the things that happened when I was Registrar Evaluation of VTO during 2010. When I saw the university being using the conventional methodology to conduct examination by sending question papers and collecting the answer books, distributing first and then collecting back, and calling the evaluators to multiple locations. If electronics answer papers are in Gulbarga, every teacher from all over the Karnataka, they used to go to Gulbarga for evaluation. If computer science papers evaluation used to happen in Davangere, all teachers from all over Karnataka used to go to Davangere. There were so many logistic problems. And then I thought, why, when technology is available, why can't it be utilized in an effective way? And then use it in a better way so that everybody feel happy and then comfortable and without losing anything. So ultimately, our aim is to have the examination system in place without violating the norms of the government and university and also the public people. So then I thought of introducing, and so many people ask me questions. Why do you want to do it? When conventional system is going smoothly, why do you want to change it to online mechanism? So then I asked one question. Today, what are you using for cooking in your house? Are you using a firewood or you are using a LPG gas system? Okay, 30, 40 years back when I was a child, when people were just about to receive the LPG cylinders, okay, they were thinking that it's just like a bomb and we should not use LPG gas system and always use the firewood for cooking. So today, can you think of anybody using a firewood for cooking? It is almost rolled out. So nobody is using. There are 100 ways, 100 reasons why the LPG cylinder should not be used. People say that, but who is using firewood for cooking today? Nobody is using. So that is because once people get adjusted and accommodated to the technology and tools available, and if they know how to use it effectively, then people will never think of going back to the old and the same old legacy systems. So just like that, the online examination system will come to force or come to effect. Everywhere it will be the norm in another 2-3 years. And COVID has, as Sanjay Chantala madam told, COVID has preponed that activity and immediately it may start booming into the market and then everybody will start using that. Okay. So similarly, when you talk about Indian education scenario, if you see the people who are going to US for MS degree or PhD, the number is very low because many people cannot afford to go and have an education there. Why the universities in US and UK or Australia or Germany, why they are not offering education online? Because conventional graduation system, university system, has teaching also evaluation as a part of graduation process. If at all any university wants to bring in the education system online, it has to have a proper evaluation mechanism so that combined together, they can say in a legitimate way that yes, online education system is working out, evaluation is also fair, then I can fairly award a degree without any problem or any question, any legality arising out of it. So that is the norm of tomorrow. If that happens, the education system will have a tremendous shift, changeover, and people who are spending few tens of millions of rupees to have education in US can happen to 10% of the cost if education system takes a drastic change in the scenario. And COVID has taught so many things today. If you see, people were not at all using the online education. Forget about the primary school. Even in engineering education or medical education, people are afraid of using the online education system. Now, even a primary school teacher is capable of using the online teaching learning processes, and everybody has experienced it. My kid who is in 6th standard is also using the online coaching. Now, that is a trend, order of the day. Now the question comes, why people are not switching to the online examination? So there are some apprehensions. See, when university asked, because of lockdown, to BNMIT and all other engineering colleges, what are you going to do? You have to conduct internals. Then the university left it to the principals to conduct examination the way they want to do it. So then I thought of having some technological solution which is robust enough, good enough, so that we can adapt that system and reach all the students. That was the biggest challenge, how to reach students at different locations and have the evaluation completed. So then the HireMe came into picture, and we evaluated 2-3 vendors, and then HireMe was one of the best I found. And we used it in a most effective way. And as Sandhya Chintala madam told, it has all the mechanisms, the systems implemented in place. It is in place to curb the malpractice. And believe whether you believe it or not, we conducted examination. We have 2,000 plus students, and except 5-6, all have taken examination. That is a good thing that has happened. We are very happy, and we are propagating it to the other colleges to make use of this. Many people are struggling. See, people in our college, students are there from Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, Bihar, Jharkhand, and in remote places like Raichur, Gulbarga, and in villages they are there. Even then, they managed to write the examination and got very good marks. And the system has helped us in a better way. And we conducted very smoothly all the internal examinations. And our management is also very happy for having such a system being introduced in our college. So Sandhya Chintala madam gave in detail everything, how proctoring, online artificial intelligence enabled proctoring works. So in our college, we have 10 departments and more than 140 faculty members are there. 150 subjects, including electives, are there. So we tried out both MCQs and also subjective type of questions. More than 2,000 students used it, this platform, and we are very happy. That system worked very well. Totally about 25 plus assessments the students took, and all the reports are being generated in a most effective way. And then we are encashing the report generation tools, outcome of the report generation tools. And teachers are also happy, students are also happy, and university is also happy because we did the best way that is possible in our Karnataka education system under VTU. So as Mr. Chako quoted, even it is working with a lower bandwidth. When we say students have all the problems, some people cannot afford to have the laptop, some people may not have the lease lines connectivity. It is working on a regular bandwidth of mobile, conventional mobile, 28 rupees, 2 GB per day. So it's a very damn cheap bandwidth that is available in the market today. And all the students have taken the examination. As I told you, out of 2,200 students, only 10 or 8 or 10, 12 might have not, you could not reach them. Except that all people have written the examination. So I feel that is a new norm. And if people at the helm of affairs can understand this and propagate this to their institutions, it will be a very good for everybody. Of course, challenges will always be there. Whenever you implement it, it's an evolutionary process. students will always find a new way or methodology to break the system to have the malpractice. But at the same time, the development team sitting at the organization, they are very dynamic in nature and then can curb all the kinds of attempts that may come into picture in future. So I felt very happy with the Army team sitting in the office. They worked 24/7. Whenever we raised a request or a problem or issue, they sorted it within no time. And because of that, we could finish our internal evaluation mechanism very smoothly. And we are very happy about it. And I thank all the team members of Army for supporting us in a big way. And during the lockdown, we managed to overcome a big fear of conducting and big problem of conducting the examination in a most smooth sailing way compared to all other colleges. Many colleges have relied on giving the assignments. The problem with that kind of a system is student will never be able to sit and study. If simply they'll copy from the book and submit as an assignment. That is not a solution. We wanted to have a test, a regular test that used to happen, how it used to happen when there was no lockdown. Same way we wanted to conduct, and we are successful in conducting that, and we are very happy. And I'll be very happy to take any questions regarding the way we conducted the examination, how we got success in conducting the examination. Over to the Hermit team.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnamurthy sir, for sharing these details with us. Now, very quickly, I would like to take up few questions which have been shared by the participants during the session. So let me just browse through a few of them. Okay, so one of the questions is, are online assessments suitable for remote locations like villages and towns? If yes, then are they usable by all age groups and education streams? Sandhya ma'am, probably you would be the best person to answer that.
So one is for age groups, there is no bar as long as the individual knows how to use a device and is familiar, because even in our own industry, people who are also nearing the higher age group of 50 plus, etc., all are continuously upskilling themselves and learning. So it is no age bar for that particular space. Then whether the remote areas, that depends whether there is sufficient bandwidth. That's the reason why you're moving to these new operating systems where you can actually use a mobile phone, and if the test like a Jaime product is able even to come down to a 2G format, it will be working. But usually 3G is the preferred one, and subsequently when you get, so you are able to get a turnaround time and you get instantaneous results. So age is not the thing, it's just the device. Whether you'll find it very, very easy either on a laptop or a cell phone. It's a bit inconvenient whether you have to do structural questions, subjective questions, or a project-based questions where you have to really code. It becomes difficult to code using a small laptop, a small cell phone. But it's fair enough if you can work on an iPad or a tablet. And obviously, of course, a laptop is most key. So that should be the answer.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next question, probably very fast, I would take one of them is, are the assessments applicable and administered in vernacular languages? Choco sir, will you throw some light on that, sir?
Yeah, Jaime is right now functioning in Hindi in Rajasthan. We work with the government of Rajasthan to enable that in Hindi. And we are also looking for other vernacular languages as well. And I did see another question on whether it's used, what will be the future of Anganwadis and things like that. If Anganwadis become Wi-Fi hotspots, where all the students can go in and then take assessments, and that they can have multiple Wi-Fi devices available for Airtel or Jio or any of that, that might be a hub for learning from others as well. Thank you.
And the latest is there's so much innovation happening that real time when I'm talking to you in English, it can get translated into Tamil or Malayalam or Telugu or even Chinese. So those sort of products are also available through your glasses. You have them. So while you read the question in a particular language, it may translate in your mind to a language of your choice. So those are there, but functionalities of seeing, toggling the question. So it is an English question, but you want to answer it better in Tamil or Hindi, it can be done. So very many players have abilities like that, and I would urge that Calm also take it up very strongly, and I think they have the capability of doing so, and shortly should be made available, at least in 14 to 15 Indian languages.
Sure, ma'am. And thank you, Choco sir and Sandhya ma'am. Okay, so probably I'll take just one last question because we are almost done with the time which we had. Is the reporting as comprehensive, as reliable as the paper pen university examination? Probably, Krishnamurthy sir, will you throw some light on that? You have been using it firsthand, sir.
Yeah, the report, what is being generated out of the Hermi, the software, it is as good as getting the pen paper examination. It is more than that, I can say.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And the next question probably also you can take up, sir. How easy it is by the faculty with limited digital teaching experience to adapt to online examinations, sir? We talked about a few challenges wherein the faculty needs to adapt to it. So how you can share your experience, sir, whether the faculty had any challenges or how did they overcome that while using the online system, sir?
Faculty did not had any kind of problem as such, because being a technological institute, and I don't think that kind of background is also necessary, because it is not that much difficult to learn and use. If you are able to operate a smartphone, that is sufficient enough to see. The challenge lies not in the usage of device. The challenge lies in the preparation of the questions, type of questions. When you pick the random, when you have an option to pick the random question, the question paper setter as a teacher should put questions of similar kind in a poll when it picks randomly to have a justice among the students. So there lies the challenge, not in using the device. Now, a 2-year kid at my home of my relative is capable of handling the smartphone, and it opens the YouTube in a normal way. So there is no question of having a challenge in using the device. The question lies, the problem lies in the compatibility and teacher's ability to frame the questions in such a way that students will all get an equal level of questions when the system chooses or picks the random questions from the poll.
Thank you so much, sir. I am afraid we have time only for these many questions. But we will for sure collate all the questions and respond to them via emails, whatever questions have been put up by the participant. And now I will very quickly request Mr. Choco to share the closing remarks for the session. And over to you, Choco, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks to everyone who have attended here today. This is just what we wanted to share with you what we have done so far, and we want this to percolate across India in a bigger way. I think what Y2K kind of put the Indian IT into the forefront in the world. So I think 2020, the Indian educational system is a prime time for revolutionizing it, and this COVID has given us that opportunity. If we rise up to the challenge, we are easily able to leapfrog into that. Just like how India is now far ahead in terms of the mobile things, because of the bandwidth percolation across many cities, many villages today. Bandwidth is fairly available, like what Dr. Krishnamurthy said. It's available at 28 rupees for 2 GB, which is very well enough. And HireMe is only enabling through the professional examination platform to capture eyeball movements and things like that. And we think that the Indians spend 96,000 crores today on overseas education, $14 billion. And a lot of these people internationally are actually this year doing online tests and saying, this year we are going to go online more. So if the Indian institutions are able to do that, it'll be much, much better. And I think only thing is needed is a 5,000 rupee mobile phone. it will work on that, like what Dr. Krishnamurthy was alluding to earlier. So, and the new economy is all going to be about the geek economy, like what Dr. Sandhya Chintala was talking about. So I think if the students are able to come out of this bright, they will have a brighter future and a very different future from what it was earlier as well. So I think I want to thank all the panelists, Dr. Sandhya Chintala. So I think thank you. It's been great working with you in the NASSCOM Sector Skill Council. So thank you for having hired me and CALM as a assessment partner. So we value that, and it's always great to of the skill movement and how technology is working. So it's good that you are here, and thanks for sharing your thoughts. Dr. Devraj, so thank you, sir, for your kind words and reinforcing that or changing your concept of Google. I would say Google can't replace the guru, but Google and guru together make it a potent thing. So that's what we are trying to do here today. Thanks for your words of wisdom, and you've seen Indian educational system literally flying across India in a way from the heading UGC. So thank you for your insights. It's always great to listen to you. And Dr. Krishnamurthy, so the case study from you is all the more credible because you're not just a principal, that you are also a registrar of evaluation in BTU, and so you got those concepts and that right at that age, 10 years ago, and today you're bringing this together. So I think it's the need of the hour. So it's a challenge between all of us today. So we can say that we don't have bandwidth, or we don't have people with laptops or computers and things like that. Several governments around India, especially Tamil Nadu and I think Andhra, Orissa, a couple of them have started distributing free laptops. And so we are far ahead of many other countries in terms of the digital penetration. So I think it's time we start utilizing these laptops which the governments have given and things like that. I think Dr. Devraj was also mentioning about the 1,400 crores spent earlier on the MOOC platform and things like that. So there are a lot of things available. So, and it's, once you decide to make the shift, it's can be done at a very minimal cost. So I know we're short a little over time. So thank you again for your participation here. Thanks everyone. Thanks to the Hire Me team for putting this together. And we will be sharing this as a in YouTube webinar for all of you. And we'll also answer all the questions as well. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, all the panelists. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank all the participants who have actively participated. We will be answering all the questions through the email. Thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you, Sandhya ma'am. Thank you, Devraj sir. Krishnamurthy sir, thank you so much. And Choco sir, thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you, everyone. I would close this session with this. Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.